Alright, so it's time for the solutions for all these like pre-benchmark questions. And these are the type of questions you're going to see on your benchmark. The same sort of things are getting tested, and so make sure you understand each of them. I'll try to give a quick explanation of each one as I go through them, in hopes that you'll understand all the pieces. Alright, so on this first one, which one's function? To figure this out, if you have graphs, you just do a vertical line test, which is you take a vertical line and you can just move it from left to right. And if it only crosses once everywhere, it is a function. So A is a function. If you do a vertical line here at B, it crosses multiple times. On C, it's crossing multiple times. And D, crossing multiple times. So these are each not a function based on the vertical line test. When you get to 2, though, it's a little bit harder because it's not visual. You can't do a vertical line test on it. But look at the functions, at least the relations here, and see if you can identify what type of function it is. This first one is an exponential. Notice the x in the exponent. The next one's linear. It's got that y equals mx plus b form. And D is exponential again because it's got this x up there in the exponent. And that leaves us with C as the only non-function. It's the only thing we can identify. And it's actually not a function. And that's because it's got y squared here. If you have y to any even integer power, it's not a function. If you were to graph this, C would look like this here on the right. C looks like a C. And if you do a vertical line test, it doesn't pass. So that's why it's C. 3. I hope you guys are getting pretty good at these ones. Whatever's in the parentheses goes in for x in the function, okay? And so we're going to put 5 in for x. You have to do 5 minus 3 first. That gives you 2. Then you do 4 squared, which is 16. And then you subtract the 7 on the end, gives you 9. If you're going to put this in a calculator, you would put in this guy here. Make sure 5 minus 3 is in parentheses, so it stays in the exponent together. Anyway, so the answer is A on that one. 4, you have to identify the x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses right there. You write down what that point is. Remember, each point is an xy coordinate. X is how far left and right, y is how far up and down. So you get the point 1, 0. Moving on to 5, identify the interval where it's increasing. This is an exponential, and exponentials are either all increasing or all decreasing for like every possible real number for the domain. And so when you write your interval for that, that's from negative infinity to positive infinity, goes all the way from the left all the way to the right. This graph is increasing. 6, what's the domain of the function graphed? To figure out the domain, that's the possible x values, what the input is. And so this one, a lot of people just look at the points and that's what the x values are. No. This one, the points are there, but they're connected with these lines. And since it's connected with those lines, this is a continuous function. And so all these in-between values are also x values that are part of the function. And so you're going to have to switch over to interval notation. The x values go from negative 5 up until 4. And so that's why it's going to be negative 5, 4. It has square brackets here because it includes negative 5 and it includes 4. Moving on to 7. If x is the number of miles you have driven, what is a reasonable domain? And so this is like, what are the possible ways you can measure the miles that you've driven? I'm going to use a process of elimination here. On 7a, the whole numbers, that includes 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And so, since we can drive 1.5 miles or 2 1/3 of a mile, it's not going to be just whole numbers. It's going to be all the decimal ones and all the fraction ones. But when you get down to D, which would be all real numbers, you have to think about how the real numbers also go negative. And so, since we're measuring how far we've driven, how many miles, it's not going to be negative. So D is going to be out because it has negatives. And it's a battle between B and C. I'm choosing B for this one, and that's because you can drive pi miles. You can drive square root of 2 miles, right? You can travel any like in-between value for your miles. And so that's going to be positive real numbers for your input there. And that's going to be the first 7.